The question I see everyone asking, Wendy, is why would you stay? Why would you stay 20 years in a relationship where you weren't happy, where your husband was abusive to you? And she gives an explanation that is insufficient. She basically says she stayed because of her son. It's more than that, but it is really simple. She stayed because she's also toxic. Abusive relationships take two toxic people to be maintained because it works on a cycle of ups and downs, really high highs, really low lows, and both people have to participate in the dance to make it work. If one person stops participating, the relationship will end. Wendy is kind of toxic. It's very clear the abuser has serious issues. They're controlling, manipulative, they lie. It's very clear. But it is less clear about the victim, quote unquote, being toxic as well. But there is a level of denial, of lying to yourself and wanting bad things to happen to you that goes into being the person who accepts abuse. So I used this example recently with someone I care about very deeply. I said, if someone hands you a piece of shit, and I'm talking literal shit, they put it in your hand. They hand you shit. What are you gonna do? You're gonna say, ew, that's nasty. You're gonna throw it down. You're not going to hold on to shit. Do you understand? Someone hands you, they give it to you. That's nasty. But there are people who, if you hand them shit, they look at it. Oh, interesting. Let me learn more about the shit. I want to keep the shit. I want to protect the shit. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? The person who is holding on to the shit has some serious issues that they have to deal with in order to realize that what they're looking at is repulsive. It's repulsive. And the fact that you cannot see that it's repulsive is what makes you toxic. I was listening to Charlemagne and he described it as trauma bonding. It is very clear that Kelvin, when Wendy's being shady, as she calls him, has some serious issues. Now, when you think of a thug, when I think of a thug, I think of someone who's been through, something really rough. Maybe has seen people die, maybe has hurt people, had to hustle, had to do illegal things to survive. But survival is what they've had to do. They haven't exactly been thriving. They've been living in scarcity mode, and everything is they have to be defensive about. They're always on the attack. They always have to protect something. That's fear-based scarcity mode. Wendy, she's had her own traumatic childhood issues. We all have something in our childhood that we have to kind of work on. But Wendy, with the weight and the bullying and the breaking the chair, she had, some serious issues related to her self-worth, her self-esteem. That's how you get bulimic. That's how you get to unhealthy relationships with food. And so her and Kevin meeting, I'm very sure, because listen, I've been in an abusive relationship. I know what it's like to have the high highs. I know what it's like to feel the spark. I know what it's like to think that no one is going to love you like this person because they have seen your lowest of the lows and they still love you. They still want to be with you, right? So you have this, chemistry that you've never really had before. And it's unique to trauma bonding. It's unique to two unhealthy people coming together. Because relationships are not supposed to feel euphoric. You're not supposed to feel high, on drugs or something when you're in a relationship. I know that's the closest people who've never done drugs get to feeling like a high, the feeling after your orgasm or the feeling of falling in love. That's the most people get to, an addiction, love addiction. But this is times 10 when you're in toxic, abusive situations. The highs are so high that it's akin to abusing drugs or some kind of addiction. And it's very difficult to extract yourself from it when you have low self-esteem, low self-worth, and you think this is the only person who can help you, who can protect you. And I really adore Wendy. I think she's very relatable. I think she has like a really interesting, great personality. I used to love watching her show. I do not like celebrity news anymore, so I don't watch her show. But if she was delivering like the weather, there's some weather forecasters I really enjoy. I would love to watch Wendy. She's so much fun. I much prefer now to watch her after show where she's talking about like herself, her life, the food she likes to eat, that kind of thing. But it's clear to see that she was hiding some things. And you could see some of those things on the show, in the lapses in paying attention and the mistakes she would make. But you would also see it in the after show. When she would hide things, decide not to talk about things, I always thought it was kind of sketchy the way she never really showed her husband or showed her family. Like, what are you hiding? What is really going on? And then I had heard other people talking about this abusive, sort of controlling man that she was with. And then that coupled with her not talking about the relationship much led me to really suspect that she's hiding a lot of things. And I know people describe her as a straight shooter and being like super honest, but she wasn't. She was lying to herself and then lying to the viewers for a very, very long time about things in her personal life. I really understand. This is not really unique to Wendy. It's very typical for like an alpha female to not want to be the one in total control at home, which is normal. We want our men to have the masculine energy to say what goes on where so that we can, relax ourselves and enjoy being led by a strong man. But because of both of their, traumatic histories, when that came together, it really just ended up being controlling and abusive. It can be hard to see that you're in a controlling, abusive relationship when it has become the norm. And some of the people in the documentary were saying, like, her response to him would be, yeah, she would cry. I'm also a crier. Yeah, she would cry, but then she would just get back to doing whatever work she had to do. That is called compartmentalizing. So you keep everything separate in your life. And so work is work. You don't bring stuff from home into your work. It's very natural to be affected by something in your personal life and have that affect work. That's natural. Keeping things separate is not healthy and it's not sustainable long term. And the way you keep compartmentalizing things is by doing the denial thing. And so I'm similar to Wendy in that I don't think cheating is a deal breaker. I think 20 years of cheating is a deal breaker. Repetitive cheating is a deal breaker. But like one time you made a mistake, to me is not a deal breaker. I also believe in sort of unconventional I'm not interested in like open relationships or anything. But if I was on bed rest for a year, I'm not sure that I would say, no, you can never have sex with anyone. Like we all have needs, and I know there are ways that I can please you, that you can please me, that doesn't include other people, but I don't know, maybe you need a pass for like 6 months. I don't know. I'm not in that situation. And Wendy did, what worked for her, and Kevin did what worked for him. But, it's all very, very stressful. And for people who don't communicate well, who have all this trauma, who haven't gone to therapy, I would expect cheating to go on. I would expect a lot of lying to go on. And I would expect them to not handle the situation in the best way. Wendy described Kevin as, a serial cheater, and then he got his mistress pregnant. That the whole story is really wild, but it's really a testament to how in denial and in the dark I think Wendy chose to be. You're not with someone for a decade, 2 decades, and not know, like when they're lying to you, when they're keeping something secret, you really have to look the other way. You make a decision to look the other way so that when he's buying a house less than 10 miles from where you all live, you don't know. She knew he was cheating. Like she knew, but I don't think she realized it was that bad. It was that bad. I think Kevin wanted to keep his 2 families. I don't think he, wanted to divorce Wendy and just be with this one woman full time. I think he liked having the 2 things separate. I think that felt sort of normal to him. The lying and the secrecy. Some people live off of secrecy, which is just really unfortunate. When it comes to physical abuse, honestly, I do not believe that Wendy was never hit by him. She said he wasn't a woman beater, and she was not a battered woman. That's her wording for it. But that doesn't mean, like she said, he never hit her in like her arm. That doesn't mean he never slapped her. It doesn't mean he never threw something at her. It doesn't mean he never spit at her. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen that don't include him repeatedly punching you that can still constitute physical, right? Like, he could have choked her one time during sex and not stopped when she used the safe word. Like, there's so many physically abusive things that can happen that do not include punching, right? Or hitting somebody over the head with something. So many different things. So I don't believe her. For that, I don't really believe her, especially for the length of time that it went on. And for so many people speculating that she was a battered woman. She had all the signs of being in a physically abusive relationship. I'm not convinced. And then there's men who do physical damage around you, which I guess technically isn't physical abuse to you, but so many blurred lines when it comes to levels of abuse. But I think it's very clear to see that this was an abusive relationship. And maybe if you see parts of Wendy's relationship in your relationship, you can like take a pause and say, wait, I think I'm in an abusive relationship. And then you can take steps to like remove yourself, you know, if your safety is at risk. I am not the advocate for people leaving their relationships. I follow the principles in the book Women Who Love Too Much that I recommend to everyone who's in an unhealthy relationship, because it's not about whether you leave or stay. That's really not the focus. The focus is on you and on you being the best you that you can be, which means no more lying to yourself, no more denial, and you living your best life and not trying to control other people by thinking you can be the agent of change in their life, or that you can inspire them to be a better person or fix their life. Like, it's not like, that's not the role that you're supposed to be playing. In a relationship, you're supposed to love the other person, be kind to the other person, wish the best for the other person, and let them make their own decisions. It's not about control. It's not about a fear-based mindset. It's not you thinking no one is ever going to love me like this person loves me. It is, we are free to be our best selves. And when we come together, we can move mountains. Like, with kindness and love and compassion in making the world a better place, encouraging people to be their best selves and just being happy. You know, being happy. And it was clear that Wendy has not been happy for a while. She looks like she's enjoying the single life. I think when you leave an abusive relationship that really had no hope of changing, you feel a weight lifted off of you and you become like lighter, more positive, more pleasant to be around, because there's no like cloud hanging over you. There's no fear of this partner of yours coming in to, you know, try to take away your happiness or your good mood. So I really do wish the best for Wendy. I really thank her for blessing us with this movie, with the documentary, with her book, with all this information, because I feel there were so many lessons from the movie, so many lessons from her life. And I think everyone's life can be a blessing to someone else. And I'm just thankful to Wendy, because I know what it was like for me being in an abusive relationship, not realizing I was in an abusive relationship, and then finally waking up. So it's really nice to see an example of what it looks like, what it can look like, and what it may look like if leaving is the decision that you make. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, share this video with someone you think it may help, and thank you for watching.